Hi, welcome to the channel. Today is the second of sixth chapter. That is, you are what you think you are. Let's start. You owe it to others, but more important, you owe to it to yourself to look your best. You are what you think you are. If your appearance makes you think you are inferior, you are inferior. If it makes you think small, you are small. Look your best and you will think and act your best. Think your work is important. There's a story often told about the job attitudes of three bricklayers. It's a classic, so let's go over it again. When asked, "What are you doing?" the first bricklayer replied, "Laying brick." The second answered, "Making $9.33 an hour." And the third said, "Me, why? I am building the world's greatest cathedral." Now, the story doesn't tell us what happened to these bricklayers in later years. But what do you think happened? Chances are that the first two bricklayers remained just that, bricklayers. They lacked vision. They lacked job respect. These was nothing behind them to propel them forward to greater success. But you can waste every cent you have. The bricklayer who visualized himself as building a great cathedral didn't remain a bricklayer. Perhaps he became a foreman, or perhaps a contractor, or possibly an architect. He moved forward and upward. Why? Because thinking does make it so. Bricklayer number three was attuned to thought channels that pointed the way to self development in his work. Job thinking tells a lot about a person and his potential for larger responsibility. A friend who operates a personal distraction firm said this to me recently. One thing we always look for in appraising a job applicant for a client is how the applicant thinks about his present job. We are always favorably impressed when we find that an applicant thinks his present job is important, even though there may be something about it he wouldn't like. Why? Simply this: if the applicant feels his present job is important, odds are that he will take pride in his next job too. We have found an amazingly close correlation between a person's job respect and his job performance. Like your appearance, the way you think toward your work says things about you to your superiors, associates, and subordinates. In fact, to everyone with whom you come in contact. A few months ago, I spent several hours with a friend who is personal director for an appliance manufacturer. We talked about building men. He explained his personal audit system and what he had learned from it. We have about 800 non production people, he began, under our personal audit system. An assistant and I interview each employee every 6 months. Our purpose is simple. We want to learn how we can help him in his job. We think this is a good practice because each person working with us is important, else he won't be on the payroll. We are careful not to ask the employees any point blank questions. Instead, we encourage him to talk about whatever he wants to. We aim to get his honest impressions. After each interview, we fill out a rating from form on the employee's attitudes toward specific aspects of his job. Now, here's something I have learned, he went on. Our employees fit into one of two categories, Group A and Group B, on the basis of how they think toward their jobs. The persons in Group B talk mainly about security, company retirement plans, sick leave policy, extra time off, what we are doing to improve the insurance program, and if they will asked to work overtime, March as they were last March. They also talk a lot about disagreeable features of their job, things they don't like in fellow workers, and so on. People in Group B, and they include close to 80% of all non production personnel, view their jobs as a sort of necessary evil. The Group A fellow sees his job through different glasses. He is concerned about his future and wants concrete suggestions on what he can do to make faster progress. He doesn't expect us to give him anything except a chance. The group of people think on a broader scale. They make suggestions for improving the business. They regard these interviews in many offices as constructive. But the Group B people often feel our personal audit system is just a brainwashing affair, and they are glad to get it over with. Now, there's a way I check attitudes and what they mean to job success. All recommendations for promotions, pay increase, and special privileges are channeled to me by the employee's immediate supervisor. Almost invariably, it's a group a person who was recommended. And again, almost without exception, problems come from the group B category. The biggest challenge in my job, he said, is to try and help people move from group B to group A. It's not easy through because until a person thinks his job is important and thinks positively about it, he can't be helped. This is concrete evidence that you are what you think you are, what your thought power directs you to become. Think you are weak, think you like what it takes, think you will lose, think you are second class, think this way, and you are doomed to mediocrity. But think instead, I am important. I do what it takes. I am a first class performer. My work is important. Think this way, and you are headed straight to success. The key to winning what you want lies in thinking positively toward yourself. The only real basis other people have for judging your abilities is your actions, and your actions are controlled by your thoughts. You are what you think you are. Wear the shoes of a supervisor for a few moments and ask yourself which person you would recommend for a raise or promotion. Number one, the secretary who, when the executive is out of the office, spends her time reading magazines, or the secretary who uses such time to do the many little things that help the executive to accomplish more when he returns. Number two, the employee who says, "Oh, well, I can always get another job. If they don't like the way I do my work, I will just quit." Or the employee who views criticism constructively and sincerely tries to do higher quality work. Number three, the salesman who tells a customer, "Oh, I just do what they tell me to do." They said, come out and see if you need anything. Or the salesman who says, Mr. Brown, I am here to help you. Number four, the foreman who says to an employee, to tell you the truth, I don't like my job much. Those guys up top give me a pain in the neck. I don't know what they are talking about half the time. Or the supervisor who says, you have got the expect some unpleasantness on any job, but let me assure you, the men in the front office are on the ball. They will do right by us. Isn't it obvious why many people stay at one level all their lives? Their thinking alone keeps them there. An advertising executive once told me about his agency's informal training to break in new inexperienced men. As company policy, he said, we feel the best initial training is to start the young fellow who incidentally is usually a college graduate as a male boy. We do not do this, of course, because we feel a fellow needs 4 years of challenge to take mail from one office to another. Our purpose is to give the new fellow maximum exposure to the many varied things which must be done in agency work. After he knows his way around, we give him an assignment. Now, occasionally, even after we have carefully explained why we are starting him out in the mail room, a young fellow feels that carrying the mail is belittling and unimportant. When this is the case, we know we have picked the wrong man. If he doesn't have the vision to see that being a male boy is a necessary practical step to important assignments, then he has no future in the agency business. Remember, executives answer the question, what would he do on that specific level? By first answering the question, what kind of job he is here doing where he is now. Here is some logic sound straight and easy. Read it at least 5 times before you go on. A person who thinks his job is important receives mental signals on how to do his job better, and a better job means more promotions, more money, more prestige, more happiness. We have all noticed how children quickly pick up the attitudes, habits, fears, and preferences of their parents. Whether it be food preferences, mannerisms, religious and political views, or any other type of behavior, the child is a living reflection of how his parents or guardians think, for he learns through imitation. And so do adults. People continue to imitate others throughout life, and they imitate their leaders and supervisors. Their thoughts and actions are influenced by these people. You can check this easily. Study one of your friends and the person he works for, and note the similarities in thinking and action. Here are some of the ways your friend may imitate his boss or other associate: slang and word choice, the way he smokes cigarette, now some facial expressions and mannerism, choice of clothing and automobile preferences. There are many, many more, of course. Another way to note the power of imitation is to observe the attitudes of employees and compare them with the chief. When the chief is nervous, tense, worried, his close associates reflect similar attitudes. But when Mr. Chief is on top, feeling good, so are his employees. The point is this: the way we think toward our jobs determines how our subordinates think toward their jobs. Job attitudes of our subordinates are direct reflections of our own job attitudes. It's well to remember that our points of superiority and weakness show up in behavior of those who report to us, just as a child reflects the attitude of his parents. Consider just one characteristic of successful people: enthusiasm. Ever notice how an enthusiastic salesperson in a department store gets you, the customer, more excited about the merchandise? Or have you observed how an enthusiastic minister or other speaker has a wide awake, alert, enthusiastic audience? If you have enthusiasm, those around you will have it too. But how does one develop enthusiasm? The basic step is simple: think enthusiastically. Build in yourself an optimistic, progressive glow of feeling that this is great and I am 100% for it. You are what you think. Think enthusiasm and you will be enthusiastic. To get a high quality work, be enthusiastic about the job you want done. Others will catch the enthusiasm you generate and you will get a first class performance. But if in negative fashion you cheat that company on expense, money, supplies, time, and in other little ways, then what can you expect your subordinates to do? Habitually arrive late and leave early, and what do you think the troops will do? And there is a major incentive for us to think right about our jobs so that our subordinates will think right about their jobs. Our superiors evaluate us by measuring the quality and quantity of output we get from those reporting to us. Look at it this way: whom would you elevate to division sales manager, the branch sales manager, whose salesmen are doing superior work, or the branch sales manager whose salesmen deliver only average performance? Or whom would you recommend for promotion to production manager, the supervisor whose department meets its quota, or the supervisor whose department lags behind? Here are two suggestions for getting others to do more for you. Number one, always show positive attitudes toward your job so that your subordinates will pick up right thinking. Number two, as you approach your job each day, ask yourself: am I worthy in every respect of being imitated? Are all my habits such that I would be glad to see them in my subordinates? Thank you. If you are new on the channel, we subscribe the channel and press bell icon. We will start again our next day. Thank you.